The price will be adjusted 100% because the market is being created and is filling up with new players. As for whether a person here is a sucker, the investor, well, this is nonsense. When you expect that on Airbnb it will be rented out 80% of the time at a price of $200 per day, you realize you need to calculate from there.
Minus 15%, how?
Yes, I understand. Investors here are impatient. Impatient. They are actually impatient. Those who make decisions emotionally. They arrived, liked everything in 2 days, and invested money within 2 weeks.
Of our 3 regular subscribers. One of them, Roman Maximov, 3589, asks the following question. Good evening. Apparently his evening is not very good, as you will understand further from the texts. After reviewing the content about developers in Bali, I formed the opinion that they take a piece of land and then sell pictures. After selling 80% of the pictures with a profit of X3, X5, they begin construction. They build what is most suitable for short-term rentals, tailoring this format to aesthetics and ergonomics, often limiting the buyer with high ongoing maintenance fees, such as $350 for a 70 milhões townhouse and $50 for 70 milhões, and thereby limiting the time the owner or buyer can stay in this town in order to, as I understand it, rent it out, and then re-rent it on a daily basis. Next, the buyer in such schemes is, at best, a victim who must rely on their 15–20% royalty while paying the developer 3 to 5 times for their profitability. Then, the readiness of the unit comes in a couple of years. He pays for the maintenance of the unit, and as a result, he has no time left for personal living. This is all in hopes of returns of 12–15, but mainly 25%, which are promised. But over the course of 10–15 years, this all levels out to 5 to 6% due to pharmaceutical downturns, the pandemic, awakened volcanoes, and so on. Please let me know where I'm mistaken. Such a long introduction. I ask you.
There are many points that can be added here. In fact, firstly, if a person has formed such an opinion, it means we have conveyed the information to them correctly, about 90% of the time.
Well, for me, this is some kind of surreal...
Why is this a surprise for you?
From all corners, from amateurs and so on, there is talk of such magnificent, let's say, profitability. People are buying, sweeping everything away. In other words, they are all, to put it mildly, short-sighted people and victims of advertising.
Well, let's figure this out. First of all, to be honest, I don't have much to comment on here, except for one thing I would add. You also pay a percentage for successful rental, as a rule, meaning that the developer has its own management company that receives a percentage for managing your property after it has been handed over to you.
Well, of course.
Yes, accordingly, this is not mentioned here. It is also an expense that you typically bear as an investor.
Wait, stop. So what am I paying for? For the fact that I pay a percentage of the money, which are obtained as a result of management. The developer creates a management company simultaneously and then manages these young units.
He either creates a management company or uses an existing one, and this is usually specified in the contract with the investor. So this expense exists. This expense exists. Well, it's clear regarding whether the person here is a sucker, the investor.
Sorry, but this is not an expense. It's just a management fee for your property.
But it needs to be included in your expense report when you are roughly calculating a certain percentage return. That is, conditionally speaking, on Airbnb. When you expect that it will be rented out 80% of the time on Airbnb, at a price of $200 per day, you understand. You need to calculate from there, minus 15% or 20–30%.
Yes, I understand.
So this expense is a real one.
And the advertisement states 15–20 without taking these expenses into account. Am I right?
Listen, this advertisement, damn, it's a flow here.
Well, wait. People fall for this, they get caught up, they buy, they abandon sacred Dubai, come here and start investing.
But I think you're a bit mistaken. Let me tell you how I see the investor market. I divide it into real investors and fake ones.
You don't see him, you just know him.
But I'm in it anyway. I wouldn't want to be, but I'm still in it. They ask me, are you building? I say no. How are you in it then? Well, because damn it, I'm talking to these people. Investors are people who have capital, which is measured in $2, $3, or $5 million in order to invest directly and build and sell without intermediaries. To whom? To those whom everyone here considers investors, These are people who have a certain, much smaller capital and are ready to buy one villa there. They are not investors. They cannot be called investors. They just, well, allocate part of their capital and in an aggressive market at their own risk without having any, in general, poor management or leverage. You know, managing one's investment property. One cannot truly call such a person an investor because an investor understands the asset in which they are investing. This is not an investor. Those who buy pictures are not investors, and often pictures are sold. The market is changing now. Perhaps thanks to our efforts, I don't know.
Only yours. I am just a fixation.
You are talented, fixer. That's not the point. The point is that thanks to these efforts, the market might be changing a little. Now people know that they need to check the land, check the contract, and so on. One can distrust the developer, one can take 3 days to sign the contract, one can pay in cryptocurrency, or one can choose not to pay in cryptocurrency and first come to see what is happening on that piece of land in person, signing everything with a notary before entering into the contract.
This sounds very unpleasant because 85% of the time, according to statistics, it's an emotional deal. We sit together, drinking in the sauna, wondering whether we should buy a villa in Bali for some 200,000-300,000.
Yes, that's exactly how it happens, which is why we have some misunderstanding. Here is a person, I forgot unfortunately the nickname.
I will find that person now.
He tells us that investors are pushovers. Investors here are not pushovers. Suckers are just suckers, basically. Those who make decisions emotionally, they arrive like everything in 2 days, and within 2 weeks, they invest their money.
Some are online. 85% do not come here at all.
I agree, yes. 90%. Even some developers tell me 90% is done in deals without coming.
They just invested money and that's it. Now, all over the world, China, Turkey, and even Dubai are oppressing and simply cutting off the oxygen for business, especially from Russia.
Yes, indeed.
Everyone wants to move to a nice place to live and recover there as quickly as possible.
What would you recommend? 100% Southeast Asia and 100% Indonesia. Because firstly, we have low taxes here. Secondly, we have, in a good sense, a financial dump where there is no strict and rigorous financial regulation, at least at the moment. And it turns out to be quite easy to relocate or open a new business right here. And from there, having a company in Indonesia to distribute money or send it wherever you need. And who will do that? There is an excellent, stunning, absolutely magnificent channel called Expert Bali. You can go there. There is a lot of useful information on that channel about how to do it step by step and who exactly will do it. And in general, you can organize this business practically turnkey without even flying to Indonesia. Awesome. Yes, that's absolutely right.
They don't want to reveal all of this. So, the sale of the investment unit? Do you completely agree with this terrible text?
Yes, I absolutely completely agree. I just don't agree with the word investors here, but yes.
Horrible. Some kind of anti-advertisement for...
What did you expect from me? What can I say now? What is this all about? This is such a civilized market. Don't you see? We have internal regulation here.
I expected that during the time you spent on the island you would somehow, I don't know, become immersed in it, that this world would be completely clear to you, and that you would be filled with love and rays of endless joy.
I was filled with rays of endless joy for the first 2 months of my life here. Then I was always filled, with those rays of endless disappointment. Because wherever I turn, from the perspective of market regulation, it simply doesn't exist.
Well, this is not disappointment, it's just realism. Don't confuse it with pessimism. And where has your optimism gone? Where?
So this is an optimistic position.
And this is optimistic.
It was optimistic. Listen, sometimes you just need to take and put down the horse that has already died or shoot it. Many investors just need to make the decision that, for now, it may not be worth investing in what is often advertised as a real estate asset that carries little risk. In Bali, real estate is an asset that carries a lot of risk. This is something that should not be forgotten.
So, all right. This is not the whole saga. There is still the second half. Selling an investment unit from a developer in Bali is misleading and a direct deception of the buyer, who is often naive, and only in 10 to 20% of cases will all these capital and ongoing high expenses be compensated by a high return at maximum occupancy. But here, Maxime is practically singing at the top of his lungs that in 80–90% of cases, the buyer overpays the product price for the purchase of the investment unit and its maintenance, hoping for a high return that will never come. It will never happen. Please add to this.
I just published an article on the website, and in it, I talk about the procedure for checking a developer before you invest. Also, I discuss the nuances where your main margin is lost.
Margin or margin?
Let's lose the margin and let others lose the margin too. Accordingly, I have a margin. You know, I used to trade, we have a margin, they say, and margin is often used in business slang, so I apologize. I'm sorry. I approach this professionally. Accordingly, everything is almost written down word for word regarding this emotional speech. Except for the story about deception. I don't like the word deception because there is no deception here.
You see, the thing is, you agreed out of love, right?
Look, I'll explain. It's not that you agreed out of love. The thing is, as an investor, and I'm putting quotes around investor, you want to take off as many burdens as possible from yourself.
Let's call it a second-level investor.
Second-level investor? Yes, let's categorize investors in Bali. Accordingly, as a second-level investor. Do you agree, or do you want to take off the main burden of hassle associated with it yourself?
You don't want to do anything. You just want to leave with ready-made money.
I wanted to say it beautifully.
I apologize. That's it. Let's go.
Yes, you don't want to do anything at all. You don't want to take responsibility for anything. You just want to invest money and get 20%.
Shift the responsibility and then write such heated posts.
Accordingly, this product is created for you by the developers. They create this product, sell it to you, and you buy it. Therefore, it seems to me that there is no deception involved here.
So, the collective farm is a voluntary matter.
Absolutely right indeed, yes.
Add something. Well, it's clear that you need to run to Expert Bali, and with Expert Bali, everything leads to Bali Legal. If there's anything unclear, because Expert Bali is a great place to get information directly in Telegram, accordingly, in a broad format. And if something is still unclear and you want to go further, then here is the maximum amount of optimism before you. Realism. All right? Add some notes here so that we can perhaps finish on a positive note.
According to my statistics, this is my internal statistics and my internal expectations from the secondary investment market. Let's put it that way. The secondary market. Well, about 60% of people who are investing right now do not check the properties. Probably 60–70. In my estimates, in the next 2 to 3 years, about 50% of second-tier investors who did not verify the real estate and who signed these online contracts will either lose their money, they will either have to sit on this money until the market shows real growth dynamics, and then perhaps their investments will return.
The growth dynamics are impressive.
I think this is the current growth dynamic. I'm telling you, in about a year, or even less, many new projects will emerge here in Bali that will start competing with each other on price. Rental prices will be compared to sale prices. Accordingly, the price will be adjusted 100% because the market is being created and filled with new players.
Wait a minute, there are actually more people coming. In just 6 months, 3,900, 3 million, 2,940,000, 294,000.
In the past year, 300 new development companies have opened in Bali. 300 new development companies have opened in Bali. In previous years, about 20–30 development companies opened in Bali each year. That is, the growth in the number of newly opened companies and developers greatly exceeds the number of people currently flying here.
Apparently, the company opened 10 times, and the tourist flow increased by 15%.
The only thing that is clear is that tourist flow does not have such inertia. That is, it takes the developer 2 to 3 years to build something, while the tourist flow appears instantly and disappears just as quickly.
Listen, you really found a very good niche in all of this.
Well, of course, I am approached from both sides. On one side, there are developers who need to prepare all the documentation to sell, and on the other side, there are people who actually need. In fact, we are such a soft regulator that does not currently exist in Bali.
Thank you.
Is
dynamic music.